James Henry Kissinger has just died. The news came today, aged 100. He fled to America as a Jewish refugee from Nazi Germany, became an academic, legendary Secretary of State under US President Richard Nixon, paving the way for, of course, Nixon's breakthrough visit to Communist China, and won a Nobel Peace Prize for ending the war in Vietnam. And he was also very famous for his voice. Have a listen.
And there's nothing in private life you can do that's as interesting and as fulfilling.
Does Kissinger, or did he, impress you, James?
Yeah, he does impress me, Andrew. 3 ways. Firstly, he was a giant intellect. You compare him with some of the politicians leading nations around the world right now, and he's head and shoulders above them in his capacity to think things through and articulate them. He was incredibly witty. He had the gift of the gab, and even at the age of 100, still was as sharp as a tack, and his capacity was quite remarkable. You compare the 100-year-old Henry Kissinger, still giving interviews as recently as weeks ago, with the current leader of the United States, and he was a giant of a man. Some loved him, some did not like him, but you couldn't deny his wit, his intellect, and his capacity puts most leaders today to shame.
I've got to say, I'm running out of time, Evelyn. We're a bit short tonight, but I want to ask you about Australia's now become infamous internationally for 2 instances now of monstering Jews. The first, of course, our crowd outside the Sydney Opera House screaming "Gas the Jews." The second now, protesters storming a Melbourne hotel to chant slogans and intimidate Jews from Israel who are actually there to talk about their own relatives who have been kidnapped and killed by Islamist terrorists. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, look, number one, a hotel is a private property. And number two, why didn't the police remove them from said private property? Hotels have terms and conditions, they have contracts. Surely unpaid guests or members of the public coming in and protesting to paid guests goes against those terms and conditions and the contracts. Look, if Palestinians want sympathy, this is the wrong way going about it. Everybody has the right to protest for innocent lives, but you only have to look at the footage of the blood on the babies being thrown and all of that to go, this is a little bit more than those sorts of things. They're shooting themselves in the foot while ever they continue protesting in these ways. I mean, do we want Middle Eastern wars fought on Australian soil between Australians? Because there are ways to communicate your message, and this is certainly a very un-Australian way about it.
Yeah, and all that cowards' masks on as well, like they're real fighters but can't be identified. But James, I found it disgusting that at the police station that night were Jews from Israel looking for safety instead of the people that were terrorising them in the hotel. Why weren't they arrested? Why didn't the police go for them?
Andrew, do you remember in October in Dagestan, in Soviet-controlled or Russian-controlled territory, there was a mob who heard that there were some Jews at an airport and they stormed the runway trying to find the Jews. Then they heard some Jews were at a hotel. They stormed the hotel. I remember watching that, being horrified, thinking, thank God I don't live in a country like that, only to wake up this morning and find I do.
You are so right. I'd forgotten that. That's absolutely correct. But Evelyn, what are these people thinking? I mean, have they no shame? I don't quite get how we have produced these people.
Well, I think that they're a product of, a war of information. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have. The internet has been such a blessing, but also such a curse. And so you have people from very young ages being indoctrinated to believe certain things, especially young people. They're so easily impressionable and exploited. And unfortunately, when you import people, most of the time, they are loyal to their mother nation, not the nation they've emigrated to. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Correct. James Macpherson, Evelyn Ray, thank you so much to you both.